Hello, welcome to another Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Gazelle Grau. And finally, we're getting some Moon Gundam Zeon suits. Although this one, I think it's okay. I'm just more happy about what it's potentially bringing into the game, which is great. The suit itself, again, it's okay. And before we get into that, I have two matches here for you. Well, a match and a half. One is going to be 550. I believe it's a ranked match on City Ruins, as you can see. The next one is going to be a mix-up mode on Arctic Base, and I do pretty well in it. And hey, if you guys had a happy Thanksgiving, almost said happy Halloween. We're past that now. I had a pretty damn good Thanksgiving. I had some pretty delicious, kind of different food. We had like pulled pork tamales to go with the turkey, and we had like corn that's kind of like. It had like bread on it and like it was topped with cheese. It was weird but good. But yeah, you guys don't want to hear me talk about family stuff, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the stats for the Gazelle Growl. And yeah, you have 17,500 HP. Oh, I should mention this is a 550 raid, or 550 level 1 raid. So yeah, 17,500 health. You have 19 ballistic resistance, 17 beam resistance, 24 melee resistance, 22 range strength, 53 melee, 33 melee strength, 135 speed, you have 215 boost speed, you have 70 thruster gauge, and you have 75 turning speed, which I believe goes into the 80s in space. And for slots, you have 20 close, 14 mid, and 6 long range slots. So obviously looking at this, that is some pretty weaker resistances for the beam and ballistic at 550, especially that 17 beam resistance that can kind of dick it over in especially at 600 if you're using like the level 1 at 600 or the level 2. But yeah, 550 600, that's pretty low. You might want to buff that up. You might want to buff up the legs a little bit too. This thing, it seems like they want you to go mid-range to close range, so you want to stack on that melee resistance. Maybe give yourself some more thruster gauge or more melee strength. So there's some stuff you can do with this, like build wise. But yeah, so it's there. And now for the primary weapons, you have the Gazelle Growl beam rifle, which is 1,700 damage. Yeah, 6 rounds, 350 range, and you can charge it. And if you do charge it, it actually shoots 2 rounds. So you have 6. So if you charge it up and shoot, now you'll have 4. So keep that in mind when you're using it. You don't want to like have 1 shot left and then charge up your beam rifle and then just do nothing. I actually believe that the charge up form where you shoot 2 shots actually stops maneuver armor. I have to double check on that, but it seems like it at least does a good chunk of like accumulation to stop maneuver armor. So there's that. But yeah, if uncharged, it's actually just a normal stun. And it feels a little bit awkward to aim, kind of like the Gallus J's beam rifle. But if you're fine with it, like if you use the Gallus J, you'll probably be used to it. You probably know how to aim it. So again, that's 6 potential instant stuns, so that's really good. Although it does have a little bit lower damage, especially at the 550, 600 range, where people are going to be building up that beam resistance. And then you have the Gazelle Growl Beam Saber, which is 2,100 damage, and it's your typical beam saber. This thing is more based on the it is the Gazelle, so it attacks from the left side. Almost says it's based on the Gazar. I always get those two suits mixed up, because I keep thinking the Gazar is the raid because of the R, but no, the Gazelle, it uses the left hand to attack, so keep that in mind when you're using its melee, for how you attack, because sometimes people will do their downswing and they'll miss because they're not used to attacking from the right side. But you can replace that beam saber with the Gazelle Heat Lance, which is 2,600 damage, but you can only swing it once. So keep that in mind. The beam saber, you do have melee combo controller level 1, so you can swing your other melee weapons twice. But this one, the Heat Lance, you only swing once, and that actually gives you your heavy attack as well. And then for your secondary weapons, you have the 6-tube special missile pod, which is 700 damage, 6 rounds, and 300 range. You have to sit still for these missiles, unfortunately, but they do some decent stagger buildup. I believe it takes 3 of the missiles to stun, so that is potentially 2 stuns just from having all 6 of those. So that's nice, honestly. You definitely get yourself potentially 2 stuns out of that if you're really good at aiming. If not, then it's still some decent ballistic build-up damage. Definitely there to help your team at a mid-range. And then you have the Gazelle Growl Beam Lance, which is 2,500 damage, and it does have some decent range on it, you know. With the neutral swing, I expected the neutral swing to be just a straight up poke, like something like the Rigelgu or the what's the word I'm looking for? The Nemo 3, the name. But you know, it still does have some decent range to it, and of course it also uses the left hand as well. And yeah, it's just another backup melee weapon. And if you don't use the Heat Lance, you can basically stun juggle somebody with both of your melee weapons, the Heat Saber and the the Beam Saber and the Beam Lance. And then finally, you have the 6-tube special missile pod Incendiary, which is 250 damage, 6 rounds, 300 range, and that is actually some I believe it takes 600, my bad. It takes 600 shots, Jesus Christ. It takes all 6 shots to stun, I believe. But you don't want to be piling on that. You want to be shooting somebody at least once with the missiles. And if you do, instead of doing 200 damage per tick like it does with the Zusa, with the Sousa's incendiary rounds, you actually do 500 damage per tick. And I believe it does 5 or 6 ticks of damage. So that's potentially 2,500 damage or 3,000 damage just from one missile. That's pretty good. That really adds up a lot, and you'll see, I believe, all the matches I've done so far, I've gotten top assist, and it's because I hit somebody with the heat missiles before I go on somewhere else. Also, melee priority. Why aren't you working there? Thank you. So yeah, you want to at least hit somebody once with the missile. You don't want to be spamming out all your missiles like I am here, unless you're just trying to stack on damage. But yeah, just keep that in mind. You don't want to be spamming out everything to get a stun. You have the other missiles for that very reason. Although, unfortunately, for these missiles, you have to stand still to use them as well. But again, the damage really, really adds on. Just hit somebody once, you'll get free 2,500 damage. And it doesn't matter what, if they're a general or a support, they will be taking 500 damage, or, you know, another raid. And I think there's something else I wanted to say about the missile pods. Let's see, yeah, all 6 shots take the stun. Yeah, I guess to save for that, just save up 1 for every enemy, because that's 6 pods, missiles, I should say. So 1 for every enemy if there's a 6v6. And finally, for your skills, you have Assault Booster level 2, you have Balancers, you have Ambac level 2, you have Maneuver Armor level 2, you have Force Injectors level 2, a lot of 2s there. You have Melee Combo Controller level 1, you have Heavy Attack, you have Shock Absorber level 2, you have Blast Stabilizer, you have a Double Dodge Roll, you have a Radar, you have Left Shoulder Buffer level 2, Right Shoulder Buffer level 2, which is funny because that's literally just a shield, and then Flight Control level 2. I guess Xeon suits just don't get shields. But yeah, mission completed. We'll see what we got going on right now. And hey, top assist, top damage, almost 100k. And yeah, pretty good assist score. Did better than the enemy support in assist. And I'm going to give some praises off, and we'll see how we did score-wise or placement-wise. Hey, 3rd place, 3-3. Obviously, I was doing better in everything else except for trying to kill enemies, because I was a 1-to-1 every time I spawned in. But hey, we'll do a lot better for this match in the Arctic base mix-up mode. And yeah, and then I think I said Flight Control level 2 for the skills. But yeah, that should be it for the Gazelle Grau. And I gotta say, it's a pretty decent suit. It does have some pretty interesting things about it, but it feels very there. I'll go ahead and list off the pros and cons for this suit. First of all, I'll do the cons, and the most obvious one should be that it's a raid that has some pretty lower end resistances. Also, hey, there's a game mock that just got buffed, and yeah, it really helped out. That buff really helped out. He's dead now. But yeah, so you have 19 ballistic and 17 beam resistance at 550 starting out, and then a 600. Yeah, there's certain suits that will fuck you up to say the least. So you have to be really careful with this suit if you're out in the open. Another con is that the missile pods, you actually have to stand still to use them, which I'm not a fan of. Because you're at a mid range or a close range to use those missiles, and you don't want to be standing still at this cost. We know what happens when you're a support. But here's a raid, and everybody has instant stun rifles. Hello, Toad Shredder. Get stunned. And I whipped out the wrong missiles. I whipped out the low damage missiles that do damage over time, but the dude's going to have invulnerability anyway, so I just wasted my damage potential there. But I guess I got the heavy attack off on him. Another con I want to say is if you're going to be using the Heat Lance you can only swing once, so make sure you make that hit count. You usually want to start off that, or maybe you can use your beam lance and then into your Heat Lance and then back to your beam lance. A lot of lances here, so beam lance into Heat Lance into beam lance again. It seems like that's what it should be. Unless you want to get the range hit off, then you want to use your or your Heat Lance. God damn, there's so many. They need to name these shit like something else, please. Too many lances. But yeah, we're near the end of the Arctic base match here. You'll see. Yeah, the 500 damage is really helping out, per tick of the heat missiles, or incendiary missiles. I'll call them like the fire missiles. And I believe the XS is going to get the last kill here with a poke of death. Yep, there it is. Which, hey, they buffed the XS too. It's got like double melee hits now, so hey, there you go, Mr. XS. You got the last kill. Good works all around. Mission completed, and we'll see what we got going on here. Hey, top individual, top assist, and top pursuit prevention. So, pretty decent thing going on there. Gonna praise the XS, and hey, first place. Pretty good, actually. Seeing as how there's a bunch of like 700 suits. Well, there's a fucking ground type, and I did not see that ground type the entire match. On the enemy team, the other raid. But yeah. So there's that. Back to the cons. Let's see, it being, I think I should just mention that it being a raid is kind of a con, since you're going to be fighting a lot of generals, and with your low resistances, there's going to be quite a few that can fuck you up. Even if you have melee resistance build up, there's still some suits like the Dryson that can still take advantage of you with it. Like, let's say it comes up with a neutral swing, you're knocked down on the ground, and you're just going to get fucked up by the follow up fires from everybody else. So keep that in mind with this suit. But for pros, there are some good pros for this. The beam rifle, even though it does low damage, which I should say probably be a con, it instant stuns, and you can charge it up to get 2 instant stuns pretty much. And I believe they can break maneuver armor pretty easily, so there's that. The missiles, even though you have to stand still to use them, they provide some nice mid-range damage. The fire missiles are actually pretty good. 500 damage per tick. Again, that's 2,500 damage or 3,000 damage. 5 or 6 ticks of damage. I want to say the 6 ticks of damage comes from adding the irregular DBS. Was that what it called? The one part that lets you extend status effects. Which that really builds up. There's moments where there's groups of enemies fighting, and I just unload all 6 shots into the group, and 3 people get hit, and that's, again, potentially 3,000 damage from 3 people just stacking together. That's really good. It's really good for assist. You get a lot of assist score for this suit. If you want to get an assist, like metal or something, like if one of your dailies for the day is to get top assist score, you definitely want to pick this suit. So there's that. I guess I could say that could be its own pro, is that it's a pretty good assist suit. It still does good damage to supports, so there's that. It's got the melee damage, and then of course you get the heavy attack, which is good. It's just a heavy attack. It's really good. It's the frame 1 Gazelle heavy attack. You do have blast stabilizers. That's good. You have some decent shoulder buffers. They're level 2, so I believe that's 15% off of your shoulders. Although, honestly, I was expecting this suit to have active guard with how it has a similar kind of shield setup as the Mark II full armor, or the full armor Mark II. But they didn't do that, and thankfully, because I mean, Ray would have active guard. Uh, uh, but yeah, so overall, I think this suit is okay. I think the resistances kind of fuck it over in the long run because once we start getting more better suits, this thing's going to suffer a lot. It does. The saving grace for the suit seems to be the fire missiles because it does have, you know, two melee weapons that do good damage. You can potentially have a heavy attack, which is really good. Uh, it's just that there's suits that can already do that. You know, like the Rigazi. The Rigazi is a really good raid at 550. And if you want range, you know, if you want a range raid, you have the Bawu. The Bawu is really good. The Kaplant can, you know, do some range, and it has, you know, the frame one downswing, and it can transform. The Kaplant is definitely really good. Yeah, all three of those suits are just excellent raids, and this suit, it feels like a 2-star compared to those suits. It feels pretty weak. You know, of course, it is weak stat-wise compared to those suits. But when you have suits like, again, like the Rigazi or the Bawu, you kind of just want to pick those suits. Although, again, I have to say, the fire missiles feel like the saving grace for this suit. Because without that, it would just feel like the Gazelle, just with different weapons to stand still and use. Because the Gazelle has the shoulder cannons, which you had to stand still to use. And this suit's like, hey, the description for the suit was mentioning, like, oh, hey, we put missiles on this for actual combat. And then it turns out it has the same function as the beam shoulder cannons as the regular gauze. So it's like, what's the point? I think being able to move while using those, or maybe even boosting and using the missiles, would have helped it out a lot, especially since the regular missiles take 3 to stun. I think that actually would have helped the suit out a lot more, although maybe they could have bumped it up 3 stars, give it a little bit extra, you know. I find it kind of funny that it has all these good skills and it's only a 2-star raid. But again, that's probably because the stats on this suit. But yeah, I think that's going to be it. And if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And, you know, type up in the comment section how you feel about the Gazelle Grau. Do you like it? Do you hate it? This suit's okay. I do like the fire missiles on it. Again, I think that's the one saving grace for this suit. Because, again, you can clock in some really easy just assist score out of it. And if you're really good at getting your melee damage, which, again, I'm not the best raid player, even though I got first place in a fucking mix-up Arctic base. That's usually just cancer to play. I'm not the best raid player, but I know people who probably make this suit work just fine. You know, the same as they would any other raid. But I feel like people are just going to go back to the other suits like the Rigazi, unless they just think they can get those fire missiles off consistently, which, I mean, again, if you can just focus on somebody, shoot one missile, start, you know, damaging them. Maybe if they get away, you could just fire another 1 missile at them. You have 6 missiles to use that will net you 2,500 damage to 3,000 damage per shot. Yeah, it just adds up. So that's what really makes a suit pretty good, in my opinion. Especially if you hit like multiple people, because man, just watching all that damage go up to you or go up, it just adds on. It feels great to use. But you know. Or you can just spam the heavy attack on Arctic base and get first place that way. But, yeah, not much else to say about this suit. I think it's okay. I think it'd be pretty fun, you know. But for me, I feel like some of the other raids at 550, 600 are definitely better than this suit. But that's not to say this suit's like just shit tier. Again, it has some good stuff about it. And yeah, with that, I will see you guys later. Bye.